Hello and welcome to Miss Evil Knits on Creativity, episode 1. This is my podcast about knitting and yarn, and this is a restart of the podcast with a new concept that will explore creativity and from the 3 perspectives: skills, inspiration and courage. If you haven't watched the episode 0, the presentation episode, I really recommend you to do that. Please watch that episode. Because there I will tell you more about this concept, what you can expect from the podcast and what you cannot expect from the podcast. Because my ambition is to do something else compared to what I have done before. My previous podcast in Swedish, it was like this ordinary podcasting where I showed a lot of finished objects, work in progress, what I want to knit, what I bought and so on. And this is not what I'm going to show you here. Because this is 10 episodes where we together will go on a journey and explore the creative world of knitting, to develop, improve, become more confident and more creative knitters for our own sake, just to develop and evolve as knitters, but for our own sake, not for anyone else. This is the quality time with you. In the presentation episode, I will also talk about that I will not answer questions. And that is more or less my only real request from you, that I will not answer questions. I will not give personal advice or personal recommendations or any other additional information. And you will probably see garments in these episodes that I don't talk about, that I don't tell you what it is. But I don't want you to freak out and feel like I have to know. Because if you have to know, I will tell you. But otherwise, what you see is probably something that I have designed or experimented with by myself, and that I will keep for myself and will not make any patterns. If I will make a pattern of something, I will tell you. So don't ask me or beg me to do a pattern, because I will not do that. So, but what I want you to do is to share your journey with me, to give me inspiration based on your inspiration, on your creativity, on your journey, on your thoughts. So I actually can give something or get something back from you. Because that is like the fuel I need to keep on doing this. Otherwise, I will run out of inspiration and I will run dry and feel like it's not really worth trying to do all these 10 episodes. Today's episode 1, will have the theme that every episode will have, one specific theme based on the creativity. I will also show you one of my designs, and today it will be this one, or in general raglan designs that I make. Thick sweater with a raglan construction. And this sweater is called the Nordanvind, the northern wind. We will also have my best tip, and today my best tip will be about unfinished objects and how you can start to feel positive about them instead of maybe have negative feelings connected to them. But we will start with today's theme. And today's theme is what I have written here. Who am I as a knitter? Because I see it like this, that you probably heard that every journey starts with a single step. And those steps are what we are going to do. But before you start walking, you have to understand and be aware and decide where you are right now. Because if you don't know where you start from, then you cannot really measure progress, measure how far you've gone, or measure if you have moved at all. So, who am I as a knitter is the question that we will ask ourselves in the 2 upcoming episodes. I will take this off because it's quite warm here. So, to actually explore who am I as a knitter, we're going to ask ourselves 2 questions. And it is, why do I knit? And how do I knit? And that question, how do I knit? That one we will discuss in the next episode, in episode 2. So for now we leave that. And look at the first question, why do I knit? Because I think that what you knit is not answering the question on why you knit. And when it comes to this, how do I knit, it also includes what choices do I make, what do I choose to knit. And that has nothing to do, or maybe not nothing, but I don't see that is explaining or revealing why I knit, because that are more like the choices, and the why are affecting my choices. So to explore why do I knit, we are going to answer 4 questions. Where do I knit? When do I knit? With who do I knit? And to who do I knit? And together, these questions, or the answers to these questions, I see that they tell you the context in where or why you knit. So these questions or the answers are explaining like the context to your knitting, and that can help you to understand why do I knit. So we are going to go through these questions not only once and not twice but 3 times to actually find out more about why do we knit. And the first round we go through them is actually to answer the question about now. Where am I now? Who am I as a knitter right now? And if I'm going to answer those questions, when it comes to where I knit, it's basically at home, in my living room, in my sofa or at the balcony. But I also knit when I am traveling. I think that is a perfect it's perfect to have to knit. I don't find the word, but it's perfect to have your project with you when you're traveling, because I usually travel by train, and it's almost always some kind of delay, either before the train comes or before the train arrives. And if I have a knitting with me on my project, then it doesn't really matter, because I can always knit. So I always bring a project with me when I'm traveling. I'm not really knitting at work right now. I have been able to do it, but right now it's not. It doesn't really work that to bring the knitting to work. But I usually bring my knitting when I just go out for a walk, to sit in a park knitting. That's wonderful. And I also usually bring knitting when I go hiking in the mountains. I will talk more about that later on in another episode. Also, when I gone kayaking, I brought my project with me. So yeah, where I knit, it's pretty much everywhere right now. When it comes to when I knit, well, I usually knit a little bit in the morning before I go to work, and I knit when I get home. And I think that when it comes to the week, I knit at the weekdays. Maybe not that much, because yeah, you have to work. So mainly I knit the most in the weekends. And when it comes to, if you see the year around, I don't really see any differences. Some people, I think, can lose their knitting mojo in some of the seasons, maybe because it's getting warm in the summer, but I don't really do that. Maybe if it's really warm, I don't knit during the day, but in the evening and in the early morning it's not that warm, so then I like to knit as well. So when do I knit? Yeah, pretty much around the clock, except from when I'm working, I think. I actually, maybe I'm knitting too much. And if we would look at with who I knit, I would say that I'm usually knitting on my own. Due to the pandemic, it has been a little bit more difficult to knit together with people. I have one friend that I, not very often, but sometimes meet at a cafe where we sit and knit and talk, but it's pretty much the only one that I'm knitting together with in real life. For some rare occasion I've knitted together with someone during a Zoom or Teams, but mostly I'm knitting on my own, and I like that. I appreciate knitting on my own, because yeah, I like that. And to whom do I knit? And that's pretty much the same answer. I knit to myself, mostly. I can knit to like a bigger garment to some close friends, but then it's a really close friend that really is knit-worthy. And sometimes I knit mittens that I can use as gifts to someone who has deserved it. Sometimes I try to get some motive on the mittens, so that it's some kind of symbols that symbolize that person, so it's more personal gift. But mostly I knit to myself. So that is like the first round. Who am I now? in what context do I knit? So why I knit, it is more or less connected to myself and my needs and what I want to do. If we take the next round, then it has to do with what gives me my knitting mojo, or my inspiration, or my will and lust and positive feelings connected to knitting. What is giving me that? And when it comes to where, yeah, that's probably just being outdoors, be able to sit outdoors and do a knit. But also indoors, and just sitting in an environment where it's quiet and relaxing, so I can think, I can let my thoughts go just run free. That is an environment where I feel like I get creativity and inspiration and knitting mojo. The when I feel like I get the mojo is actually when I have the time. When I don't have any time pressures or something, when I can decide for myself how I want to knit, that there is nothing that is limiting me. So also a freedom when it comes to time that is giving me my knitting mojo. And as I probably guessed, when I feel the most inspired, it is actually when I am on my own. Of course, it's interesting to talk to someone to get ideas, but I have to process it on my own. And sometimes I feel like I want to knit something to someone else, and I get really inspired about that. But I also have problems with finishing those things. So I think I get the most inspiration actually, maybe not primary knitting to myself, but designing or knitting a project that is giving me inspiration. It doesn't really matter who it's for, but it's something that I want to wear, and that the process is actually giving me the most. So what is giving me the inspiration and knitting mojo, yeah, it's very self-centered actually. Are you following me? If we then go to what is stealing my inspiration, what is making me not want to knit, what is taking away my creativity, then is where. I don't really know exactly where I should feel like I'm not really that creative. Maybe in an area where it's very busy, when I can't really think. Or maybe it should be in an environment where I have no stimuli at all, like locked up in a basement. I don't think that would be very inspiring, actually. I hope that I will never end up there. And when do I lose inspiration? And I think I mentioned it, but it's when I'm under some kind of time pressure, that I have to do something. So I think that is the most uninspiring situation I can be in under time pressure. And with whom, it's also a little bit connected to pressure, that someone else is wanting me to do things. In the presentation episode, I said that I am not really a social knitter. I am not the person who joins knit-alongs. And because I think that, yeah, you're really inspired in the beginning, but then quite fast I lose interest. And I think I lose interest because everyone is doing the same thing. And even if most participants in a knit-along is doing their own version of it, it's still like the same thing. And somehow I think that is making me lose inspiration, that there are too many people doing the same thing. And yeah. And when it comes to losing inspiration in whom I knit to, I think it's also when I knit to someone else. Maybe not when I knit to someone else that is close to me, but when I knit to someone else that I don't really know that well, and I don't really have that connection with. It's more like you have gotten, someone has ordered or asked you to knit something, and you're just doing it for that purpose. I don't find that very inspiring. So I guess that you can find the answer to why do I knit by answering these questions connected to now, what does actually give me my knitting mojo, and what is stealing my knitting mojo. So this context can help you to answer the question, why do I actually knit? You can also ask yourself a questions with, is it the project that is most important, or is it the process? And when I say the project, I mean that what is giving you the most joy, is it when you have the finished project, when it's done and you can wear it? Is that what you find the most enjoyable? Or is it the knitting of it, like the process, that actually doing the knitting, is the process more important than actually finishing it? And I think that I am mostly a process knitter. I enjoy the process because I think that I want to learn. I want to experience things more than I want to have the finished garment. Of course, it's a joy to have a finished garment, but if I have to choose, by just wearing finished garments or knitting but never be allowed to wear them, I would definitely choose to knit. So that's why I see myself as a process knitter, because that is more important than wearing the finished garment. The second question you can ask yourself here is, am I a more creative knitter who feel like the purpose with knitting is actually to be creative, to let my creative and artistic side of me just go wild and make my own pattern or designs, and actually, yeah, is the knitting supporting that side of me? Or am I a knitter that, or am I knitting because I want to relax and maybe not having to think, to just enjoy that, the movement this repetitive movement of the hands and the feeling of the yarn to de-stress. That is also like, probably you see that, okay, I'm a little bit on both. But you can also see like, if I have to choose, if I really have to choose, do I then choose just to create my own things, or do I choose just to follow someone else's patterns and be able to just relax my mind and focus on just knitting? So that is also two questions that you can ask yourself, and that can help you to answer the main question, why do I knit? So I always start with so, and you just have to get used to that. I have a task for you, and I will probably have it in most of the episode, connected to most of the themes. And when I say a task, it is for yourself. I'm not your teacher that you should send in a report to, but these tasks are for yourself, and you can choose to make them, or you can choose not to make them. But if you want to join this creative journey, if you're serious about this and want to give it a chance, then I hope that you will just give these tasks a little thought, and maybe you can see some kind of development in yourself. And the task from this theme is actually to go through these questions and these three perspectives, like, why do I knit? Who am I right now? In what context do I knit right now? What is giving me inspiration or knitting mojo? And what is stealing my inspiration or knitting mojo? In the way that I've been discussing it right now. And you can choose to document it or just think about it. It would be really interesting to document it, because then you can see the progress. Then you can go back in a year or 10 months and actually see, okay, have I developed in any way? Where was I? Where was my starting point? And where have I traveled so far? And that's why I also want you to add a fourth perspective. Why do I knit? Or who am I as a knitter? Or who do I want to become as a knitter in the future? So adding like the future me as a knitter also to this question and analysis of yourself. So, who am I as a knitter? In what context do I knit? Why do I knit? And where do I want to go? Is your task from this theme. And in the next episode, we will talk about the choices. What do you knit and how do you knit? And explore a little bit more around that. Hi again, and welcome to this part in the episode where I talk about my own designs. To be very clear, the purpose of this part is not to explain my designs and give you instructions or provide you with a recipe on how you can knit my design. Because most of the designs I will show here will never become a pattern. It's my own designs, and it will never become a pattern that is published on, for example, Ravelry. It will not become a recipe like some of the designs I make. So you don't even have to ask those questions. The purpose with this is that I want to explain the process behind it, the inspiration, why I designed or knitted this garment, what choices I made, why I made those choices, etc., etc. So that's a purpose, and the purpose of that is that I want to encourage you in actually how you can think when you design your own garment. No matter if you design it for publishing or if you just design it for yourself to cover your needs that you have, that you cannot find in any other designs. So what I'm going to talk about today is a very simple design, and the inspiration behind it is actually that I wanted to have a really warm sweater to be able to use as an outer layer when it's really cold outside. And the name of it, I didn't have that name from the beginning, but it has grown on me. And this design, or this kind of concept, I call Nordan. And Nordan, or Nordanvind, is the northern wind. The wind is, it's a wind that blows from the north, obviously, and it's sometimes called Nordan. And what characterizes that wind is that it's often, especially in the winter, it's icy cold, so really cold, quite often quite dry wind. So it brings the cold from the Arctic regions and further south. So I wanted to have a sweater that it was really warm. And to get a warm sweater, you need to have it in a really thick yarn, or you do a kind of stranded color work where you have maybe thinner yarn, but you put it in, when you have it stranded, it creates like a double layer. But I want to have a simple sweater, easy to knit, easy to modify, so I choose to have in one color and to use a thick yarn. And then, of course, thick needles. The yarn I choose was, of course, Untitled, because that has come to be my main choice of yarn so far. And in this one I wear now, it's 3 strands of Untitled, and it's 2 different colors I've used. And I think I used kind of 6.5 millimeters needles or something. But as you probably know, if you want to do something similar, you need to check your own gauge for actually what creates a good fabric for you, concerning how you are knitting, what kind of yarn you are using, and so on. I choose to have a raglan, and you see here I have used some broken rib on raglan C. So the construction is a thick sweater with a raglan. So the different choices I made was, the first one was to, okay, what kind of texture do I want for the neck and for the cuffs, because I think that a garment looks best if you have like you're mirroring it, could you say that? That you have like the same texture on the neck, on the cuff here, and also on the end of the garment, so that is the same. And since I love the garter, I think that creates a really nice texture, and it's also quite thick because it's like it pulls together, so it's quite steady and a nice texture. So I like it. So I wanted to have garter. So that was an easy choice. The second choice I made was actually for the neck, because it's a top-down sweater, so I will start with the neck. And I feel that I have quite a few thick sweaters, usually some kind of Icelandic circular yoke, stranded yoke sweaters, but they are very often quite open neck, and that means that if it's cold, I want to be warm around my neck. I don't want that one, the neck, to be exposed. And then I need to have some kind of cowl or a shawl or something else. And I want to have like a built-in concept, or the sweater should be able to be worn. And I don't want to have to add on a lot of things, because when this sweater is being worn, I want to have something for my neck. So that's why a sweater should have a high neck. So that was the first choice, to have like a really nice cozy neck. I could have worn like a polo, I mean, doing it even higher, but I wanted to have it like one layer, so quite tight but not too tight. And then just a regular raglan, and yeah, I wanted to have some kind of pattern here, and I continued with a pattern all the way down the side under the arm, but not, or under the arm, but not under the arm. And I made it also quite long, so it like warms my whole upper body. So yeah, a little bit oversized or big, so I can wear sweaters or something under it, and that it becomes quite cozy. I'm not wearing this one when I go out for a restaurant or something. This is something that is to be worn outdoors in cold weather, when the only purpose with it is to keep me warm, not to keep me fancy looking or something. Since it's knitted with thick yarn, as I said, I use 3 strands for this one, quite thick needles, then it's a quick knit. And it's a simple construction. And since it's top down, it's just to measure it on yourself, try it on, and see how long you should continue increasing for the raglan. And you just try it on, see how long your arm should be and how long your body should be. I didn't do any shaping of the body on this one, it's quite straight. So it's just this kind of cozy sweater that you put on when you're cold. So the Nordanvind, or in Swedish Nordan, is like the name of this design. And I've actually done another one that is here. It's the same construction, a quite high neck and a raglan, But this one I made it in reversed stockinette. So I actually didn't knit this side out. I have the other side out, and then slit stitches to make this kind of stripe patterns. And the neck, hope you can see it. It is a garter, but it looks like it's reverse stockinette. And same thing with the edge down here. It's actually garter, but it looks like it just continues with the reverse stockinette. So that one I made, and I also started a similar sweater. I haven't got that far, in black. So yeah, I like these thick sweaters because that, I think, is an important thing that you should think about when you decide, when you're going to knit, for example, a sweater. Where am I going to use it? When will I use it? So you choose a design that actually like meets up with those requirements that you have. So for example, that I have felt like, okay, if I have a really warm sweater, I want it to have a high neck because I will need it if it's cold outside. So I like garments or sweaters when I have everything in it. I could have choose to make these sleeves even a little bit longer, so I could like have this, use it as like a half mitten. I could have done this even higher to be able to pull it up even further, or fold it to keep it down. So it's a little bit, you need to expose yourself for the situation when you are going to use the garment you want, and see what needs do I have in that situation. So that's why it's quite difficult to knit this kind of garment in the summer, because in the summer I don't want to have warm, at least not if it's a warm summer. I don't have this kind of warm. But in the winter I realize, I need to have that, I want to have that to keep warm. So the inspiration for this came from a situation when I was actually cold. So I think that's why it came to look like, yeah, what it looks like. So I hope that gave you some inspiration on how you can think when you are planning either your own design or actually choosing someone else's design that you can modify to fit your own needs. See you later! And now it's time for my best tip. And my best tip is my intention that I will have in each of the episodes, but I cannot promise. But my intention and my ambition is that I will have it as a regular part of the episode. And my best tip can be about almost anything, big or small, but something that I just want to share. A way of doing things, a way of thinking that I think maybe can help you to become more confident, more creative. So today, my best tip will be about UFOs. And then I don't mean the unidentified flying objects, even if knitting UFO can be unidentified sometimes. But what I'm talking about is the UFO as in unfinished objects. And I was thinking that we should talk a little bit about that. Because if you are like me, you probably have some unfinished projects lying around. Projects that you started with a big intention that you will focus on this, that you will really finalize and finish these objects, and that they will be great. But something happened and they were just lying around. I usually, if I have a sweater, I usually finish the yoke, maybe finish the body, and then there are the arms. So I have a lot of sweaters without arms lying around. And here are some UFOs I have. So arms are my big, what do you call it, Achilles heel. And sometimes I feel a little bit guilty when I have these projects that I have started, that I have maybe not bought yarn for these projects, but I have planned it and planned to use yarn for it. So I have invested both yarn, thoughts, planning, and also started in it. And yeah, I can feel a little bit of guilt or failure if I don't finish the object as I have intended. And I have sometimes gone through all my unfinished objects or started objects that I haven't finished, to just look through them and see, okay, will I finish these or will I not? And yeah, it has got me started thinking a little bit about how should I think about these UFOs to be able to not feel guilty about them, to rather see them as something that can feed my creativity, and that there's something I can actually use in learning and developing as a knitter. So I have just collected some questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to an unfinished object, or an object that you feel difficult to finish it. It has been lying around for some reason. And the first question is, why did I even start this project? Why did I start knitting this project? And there could be all different answers to that. And as I see it, the answers can be categorized in two different categories. Either you really want the finished object, you want that garment to wear it, so you want to finish it, and when it's finished, then you got your reward. Or you cast it on because you were interested in the process. It could be some technique, it could be trying out some yarn, it could be a color combination, or something else. You were more interested in actually the process, and okay, getting a finished garment would be, yeah, it would be great, but that wasn't the main purpose. So just start asking yourself, why did I cast on? So you know what is your drive or to actually knitting this project. The second question that you can ask yourself is, okay, why did I stop knitting on it? Why did it become a UFO? Why did it just keep lying there in its basket or bag or on the sofa? Why did it become an unfinished object? And the answer to that question can be that you didn't have any time to knit on it. Life happened. You didn't. You lack interest in that specific object because you didn't find it interesting anymore. You got bored of it. Maybe you stopped knitting on it because you didn't have enough yarn. That's the reason behind this one. That I have to buy more yarn, and I'm a little bit, because it won't be the same color bath. So I stopped knitting because I know that, okay, I would have to think how I should combine the yarn I have left with the new yarn, and then I got a little bit bored. Another reason why a garment just became an unfinished object could be that there were some techniques or something that you felt like, okay, this was a little bit too difficult. I didn't realize it when I read the pattern that it would be difficult. I lack knowledge or skills to actually finish the garment. So ask yourself, why did I stop knitting on it? So you know that. So you know the reason behind it, why you stopped knitting. Question number 3 you can ask yourself is, do I really want to finish it? Do I want to have it as a finished object? And if the answer is yes, then make a plan. How will I finish it? And depending on the reason behind why you actually stopped knitting, if it has to do with lacking interest or don't have the time, then you can just say that, okay, I will knit 30 minutes on this for 1 week, and then I will make a new decision and see how far I have gone. So just like 30 minutes, I really focus on this project and see what will happen. If it is knowledge that was lacking, and if that garment has been lying around for a year, it's quite likely that you have actually gained that skill. So just try again and see, maybe the problem isn't any problem, because you have developed as a knitter. So that skill, you already own it. Or if it's the reason was like lack of yarn, either you try to get that yarn, or you see if you can actually mix in some other yarn. So make a plan. If you want to finish it, make a plan for how you actually do that. And give it a week, give it 2 weeks or something, that you really focus on it to get back, to get the interest for the project back. And the 4th question you can ask yourself is, how does it feel? How does it feel to choose to finish it? How do you feel when you like, okay, I'm deciding I will finish this? How do you feel inside then when you make that decision? Does it feel good? Does it feel overwhelming? Or something else? Do you feel proud that you made that decision? And how will it feel if you decide not to finish it? Does that feel like a relief? Or does it feel like a failure? And if you have decided on that, no, I will not finish this object, and you feel like, okay, since I've decided I will not finish the object, I feel kind of failure, then we have to find a way to actually change that feeling that is connected to not finishing an object, to change that or those negative feelings. Because I think that that is quite common. I feel like that. Like, if I decide that, okay, I will not finish this object, it a little bit feels like that is my little baby that I will not pay attention to. And that is some kind of live creature that I kind of not loving anymore. So, and also, so I think that deciding that you will not finish an object, I think that is mostly connected to some kind of negative feelings. And I think that we need, I think a lot, we need to change that attitude, that we can actually put positive feelings into that. And have feelings that instead is connected to that I am actually learning something, that I am developing as a knitter. If I decide that, no, I will not finish this project in the way I intended to finish it. So, if you decide that, no, I will not finish this object, then think about, what did it learn? What did I learn from it? What did it learn me? What skills did I learn from it? Was it something? Was it that I tried out some new yarn? Can I see this as like a big swatch, that I was actually testing the yarn to try it out, to learn about this yarn and how it's behaving? Did I learn anything about construction? Was it something new I actually learned, that okay, if I do like that, it turns out like that, and now I know that, so I can apply that to something, some other project? Did I learn anything about color combination? Like, if you combine these two colors, it really pops, or no, this was the totally wrong way of combining colors? Or was it something else, some technique, some texture, cables, a way of doing things? What did I actually learn from this process? Even if it didn't become a finished object, I can still learn from the process. And if you feel like you actually learn things and can I identify, really try to identify what did I learn, then you can feel happy or satisfied by actually, okay, I've learned these things. That means that I don't have to finish this object. I can frog it, I can throw it away or do something else, but I feel good about myself not finishing it. I have a positive feeling not finishing an object. So that is a way that you can think if you decide that, okay, I will not finish it. I don't have any reasons to finish this object, but I don't want it to feel like a failure. So identify, what did this project teach me? The second thing you can do is to think about, can I create something new out of this? And designing, many maybe connect designing to doing beautiful things, but I see designing as solving problems. So most designs is about solving some kind of problem. And creativity is a way of solving problem. So creativity is a way of actually designing. And then you can think about, okay, this is what I have. Can I do something else with it? Can I create something new? Can I design something new out of this that I really want, that I really need, that can solve a problem for me, and that I will feel good about, and I really want to finish that object. And I think that, yes, to do that you may need skills to do it. And skills you can learn. You will probably need inspiration. Inspiration, this kind of mental stimuli, that you see things, you think things, you feel things that start your brain going like, okay, maybe if I do it in this way. But I think the most you need is the courage to actually take a project that was intended to be something and then make it something else. And if you have that courage to do that, you will probably be very happy about it. And to tell you a little story about when I actually took an UFO and decided, no, I will never finish this one because I don't really want to finish this, and I don't want to use a yarn for this. But instead of frogging it, I actually created something new that I'm just in love with right now. And that is what's hanging here. This was supposed to be the Girlfriend's Cardigan by Anke Strick. And it is knitted in Nutiden in a colorway called Oath. That's from last year, I think. A beautiful brown color with a lot of the Rya sheep, the breed, that gives the garment a lot of flow. So the Anke Strick, her Girlfriend's Cardigan, is like a long cardigan with pockets and long arms, and I felt like I'd really want to have this kind of long cardigan to have cozy. I think I started knitting that one in the autumn last year, and I wanted to have something during the winter. And it was an interesting construction that I haven't tried before, and that I was really curious on trying it out and exploring that construction and see if I can use it in some way. So I started knitting, and maybe, as usual, I come to where I'm not splitting for the arms, but I'm taking it in. But since it's not thin yarn, well, it's a little bit thin yarn because I had it double, but since you are knitting it in garter, it means that it takes a lot of time. It doesn't grow in the same way as when you do just stockinette. It's a little bit like when you do brioche knitting. It takes a lot of time to make it grow. So I kind of lost my mojo on it. It became something that I felt like, okay, I have to finish this. And after a while, I just asked myself, do I really have to finish this? Because I love the yarn, I love this color, and I want to use it to something else. Because I didn't feel like, I don't want to have this long cardigan. I'm not sure that is what I want to have. So then I decided that, okay, I will not frog it, but I will skip the arms. So I decided I will make these a sleeveless long cardigan. And immediately then it felt a little bit lighter. I felt like, oh, then I probably is going to finish it, because if I don't have to knit the arms, then yeah, it's more likely that I will actually finish the object. And then I knitted a little bit more. And then I just like, no, I want to knit other things. But I don't want to have this as like, you know, this bad conscience to feeling that I have failed. You know, you have the project lying there in the sofa, just looking at you, a little bit sad, a little bit, you know, angry, a little bit that it has been abandoned. So I just tried it on as it was. And maybe I had knitted here until here. And I just like, wow, this is really nice. Because this is like a shrug or a bolero that is actually doing the things I want to use a shawl for. So I decided that I will just knit a little bit longer, mainly to have it to cover up my whole back, and then I'd made an I-cord bind off all the way around, and then I was done. And I have made a garment, not the intended garment that I wanted or planned to do in the first case, but I had created something else from the thing I had, but it turned into something that I actually really wanted. And if I try it on, you see that it is like this. I call it a shrug. I don't know if that's the right. So it covers my shoulders, a little bit of my upper arm. It actually had a nice fall, so it closes, and it covers my back and my lower back. And yeah, I think it's really nice and cozy. So, and I have been wearing this quite a lot, because I think that this is what I really wanted. I didn't want a long cardigan with long arms. I guess this is what I really wanted. And I can use this for not only the winter, but for the whole year and in many different situations. And usually when I am a little bit cold, I am a cold of my shoulders. I feel cold of my shoulders and my lower back. And if I just warm those areas, then the rest of my body gets warm as well. So this is just showing that something that you didn't want to finish and can actually become something that you really want, to finish, that you really want to have. And instead of the negative feelings, I actually have a lot of positive feelings. I'm feeling proud and quite excited because, yeah, I used my creativity to actually create something new. And what I wanted to say with this, my best tip, it is that see if there are other solutions. Because it's not just black and white. It's not just finish the project or frog it, like ripping it up or throwing it away. There are things that, like a third way of actually using what you started and finishing in another way. And there are more ways to do it as well. I have some other projects that I also have decided that, okay, I will not finish this because, yeah, I don't want to finish it. I am not interested in the project at all, or the finished project. And those I have given away. So I have just sent what I have knitted so far together with the rest of the yarn to friends or Instagram friends or YouTube friends and let them finish the object by themselves. So that's another way of what you can do, is actually to give it away to someone who wants to finish it. Another way of doing is to see if it's knitted in pure wool, that you can throw it into the washing machine and felt it, and you can use it for and just sew it and use it for what this mitten you used when you take in warm things, this oven glove, or you can use it to put hot pots on. You can use it for these felted seats, because if it's really hard felted, then you can cut it, and it's like this sticking. You can cut it and create it into those shapes that you really want to have it. So the message is, you don't have to finish a project. There are so many ways that you can actually use this project. You can use it for learning new skills, to develop as a knitter, to be creative and create it into something else. So yeah, I hope that you will no longer feel guilt or other negative feelings about a project that you decide that, no, sorry, I will not finish you, but I will learn something from you, and I will use my creativity to create something new with you. So I hope that tip was helpful for you.